All right, so you're curious about onion juice and garlic for hair growth. The internet is, well, it's full of stuff, but we're going to look at actual research, not just random
It
claims.
is interesting, though, how both onion and garlic show up in, like, ancient traditions,
Yeah.
Ayurveda, Chinese medicine, using them for hair.
Yeah, right. That hints that maybe there's something there. But like you said, modern research is what we're after. So, what's the deal with onions and garlic and how they could actually help our hair?
Well, sulfur is a big one. They're both loaded with it.
Sulfur, okay. Why is that so important for hair?
Well, it's a key ingredient in keratin. Keratin is, the protein that actually makes up hair.
Yeah. So if you don't have enough sulfur, your hair gets weaker.
Exactly. More brittle, prone to breakage, all that.
Yeah.
You might notice it feeling drier, more split ends, that kind of thing.
I see. Yeah, that makes sense. Garlic, though, doesn't it have other stuff besides just sulfur that's good for hair?
Oh, absolutely. Vitamins, minerals. It's got vitamin C, which is important for collagen, and collagen is key for strong hair. Then there's selenium, that helps with blood flow to the scalp. So those hair follicles are getting the nutrients they need.
Wow, so it's like a little targeted hair growth formula, but does actually putting it on your hair, does that work?
There's research on that. One study looked at garlic gel and alopecia areata.
Oh, right, alopecia areata, that's where your immune system kind of attacks your hair follicles.
Right. And they found that using the garlic gel, along with the common medication for it, it actually made the medication work better.
So it's not just like an old wives' tale or whatever. There's actual science behind it. Are there other ways that garlic helps the scalp and hair?
Yeah, a bunch. Garlic has these antifungal, antimicrobial properties.
Oh, so for dandruff, maybe that's why people say it helps.
Exactly. Because a healthy scalp is like the foundation for hair growth.
Yeah.
If you've got fungus or scalp issues, it's hard for hair to thrive.
That's so true. I've also heard garlic is good for scalp pH balance.
Oh, that's important. Ideally, your scalp is a little acidic, like 4.5 to 5.5 on the pH scale. That helps keep bad bacteria away, kind of creates a protective barrier. And garlic can help with that.
Wow. Okay, I'm learning a lot. Is there anything else garlic does for our hair?
Well, would you believe it offers some UV protection?
Wait, seriously? Garlic as sunscreen for our hair?
It's because of the antioxidants. They act like a shield, protecting your hair from the sun's rays and other things that can damage it.
That's amazing. I never would have guessed. But you did mention downsides too, right?
Of course.
Oh.
You got to be realistic. The smell is the obvious one.
Yeah, walking around smelling like garlic, not the best.
Uh-huh. Right. And some people get sensitive to it, especially if their skin's already sensitive. Always do a patch test before putting anything new on your scalp.
Good advice. So we've covered garlic pretty well. What about onion juice? That seems to be a big one for hair growth too.
Yeah, onion juice is really popular too. The garlic, it's got tons of sulfur, so good for that keratin production.
Yeah.
But it's also got this powerful antioxidant, quercetin.
Quercetin. I've heard the name, but don't really know what it does.
Think of it as like a bodyguard for your hair cells. It protects them from free radicals, pollution, stuff like that. All those things that age your hair, basically.
Oh, so it keeps your hair from looking dull and lifeless.
Exactly. And that's kind of tied to why people think onion juice can help with premature graying, because quercetin can help protect the pigment cells in your hair.
Fascinating. Any research on that, or is it mostly just?
More research is needed, but there's definitely potential. There have been studies where onion juice actually promoted hair regrowth, like one compared it to plain water, and the people using onion juice saw way more hair growth.
Wow. Impressive. And besides that, are there any other benefits that are similar to garlic?
Oh yeah, definitely. It improves scalp circulation too, which
Hmm.
is so important because that's how nutrients get to the hair follicles.
And I've heard it strengthens hair, helps with damage, which, with all the heat styling most of us do, we could all use some of that. Does onion juice help with dandruff too, like garlic?
It does. It has antimicrobial properties as well, so it helps keep the scalp healthy. And a healthy scalp, well, that's key for hair growth.
This is amazing. Garlic and onion juice have so many overlapping benefits for hair. Is there anything else that onion juice is good for that we haven't covered?
You might be surprised, but it can act as a natural conditioner too.
Really? I never thought of that. How does that work?
The nutrients in it actually nourish the hair shaft, so it ends up softer, smoother, more manageable.
Okay, I'm officially sold on onion juice, but we gotta address the obvious thing, the smell.
Yeah, that's the downside. The smell can be strong. And like with garlic, patch testing is super important. Onion juice can irritate some scalps too, so don't leave it on too long. You can even dilute it to make it less harsh.
That's good advice. So now we've covered all these benefits. How can someone actually use onion juice and garlic for their hair? What are some ways to use them?
Well, for onion juice, fresh is best. Bottled stuff often has preservatives and things that might make it less effective.
So DIY it is. How do you make onion juice at home?
Easy. Blend or grate a peeled onion, then strain the juice through cheesecloth or a fine mesh sieve.
That sounds simple enough. Are there recipes that combine both garlic and onion?
There's a really great garlic onion oil that's super easy to make. It's a great way to get the benefits of both.
Oh, that sounds interesting. I'd love to hear about that recipe and maybe some other DIY methods, but before we get into that, I have a big question. How long does it take to see results?
That's a great question. You got to be realistic. Hair growth takes time. That's like a workout routine. You wouldn't expect to see a difference after just one workout.
That's a good analogy. So how often should you do these treatments, and how long before you see a change?
We recommend twice a week. And it takes a couple of months at least, 2 or 3, before you really start to notice a difference. Consistency is key.
So basically, be patient and stick with it. Sounds like good advice for most things in life, honestly. We've learned so much about garlic and onion juice, but before we wrap up part one, are there any key takeaways you want to leave our listener with?
Absolutely. Remember that both garlic and onion juice have been used for ages in traditional medicine for hair, and now science is catching up, showing us that it's not just folklore.
And it's not just anecdotal either. We've got studies showing real potential for them to help hair grow and be healthier overall.
Right. We talked about sulfur being so important. They're both packed with it, plus all those other vitamins and minerals.
And all the other benefits, too, like improving how blood flows in your scalp, fighting dandruff, keeping your scalp healthy, even protecting from sun damage. It's amazing.
It really is. But we do have to keep in mind the downsides, mainly the smell. But you can minimize that by diluting or making an oil, things like that.
And remember, patch test, especially if you have sensitive skin.
Exactly. Better safe than sorry.
This has been so interesting. I feel like I've learned so much, and I'm sure our listeners feel the same.
I'm glad to hear that. Remember, hair health is a journey, not a destination. Take your time, be patient, and figure out what works best for your hair.
That's such a great way to put it. So we've talked about the benefits of garlic and onion. We've hinted at that awesome garlic onion oil, and we've gone over some safety tips. What else do we have to cover in this deep dive into onion juice and garlic for hair growth?
Okay, so that garlic onion oil you mentioned, let's hear about that recipe. Sounds like a great way to get like the best of both worlds.
It is, and it's surprisingly easy. You just need a half a cup of some kind of carrier oil, coconut, olive, jojoba, whatever you like, then a few cloves of garlic and half a small onion.
Okay, pretty basic stuff. I bet most people have those already. What do you do with them?
So you heat the oil gently in a saucepan, low heat, then toss in the chopped garlic and onion, let them simmer for about 15-20 minutes. Don't let them burn, though. Keep an eye on it.
Right, right. And once they're all soft and smelling good,
Yeah.
exactly. Take it off the heat, let the oil cool down completely, then strain it through a cheesecloth or a fine mesh sieve, to get all the bits out.
So you're basically infusing the oil with all that garlicky, oniony goodness.
Exactly. You end up with this fragrant oil that's full of all those nutrients we were talking about.
So what do you do with it then? Just put it in your hair?
Yeah, massage it into your scalp and hair. Like any hair oil, really. Leave it on for at least 30 minutes. You can even do it overnight if you want.
Oh.
Then just wash it out with a gentle shampoo.
Nice. So it's like a deep conditioning treatment.
Yeah, pretty much. Do it once or twice a week, whatever works for you.
This is great. I'm going to have to try that. Are there other DIY recipes or ways to use garlic and onion that people could try?
Tons. You can really get creative. Like a simple onion juice mask is super easy. Just blend a peeled onion, strain out the juice, apply it to your scalp and hair, wait 30 minutes or so, then shampoo as usual.
I've seen some recipes online with onion juice and honey or yogurt. Do those do anything extra?
They can. Honey's a humectant, so it pulls in moisture. It's good if your hair is dry. And yogurt, well, it has lactic acid, so it gently exfoliates your scalp, helps get rid of dead skin.
Oh, that makes sense. So those are good additions if you want to make a really nourishing hair treatment.
Exactly. And you can always tweak things, see what works best for your hair type.
Totally. Speaking of trying new things, can you remind everyone about patch testing? Why is that so important?
Oh yeah, always patch test, especially if you've got sensitive skin. It's just a way to check if you're allergic to something before you put it all over your scalp and potentially have a bad reaction.
How do you do a patch test?
Simple. Just put a little bit of whatever you're trying, onion juice, garlic paste, that oil we talked about, whatever it is, behind your ear or on your inner forearm,
Yeah.
a tiny amount
And then you just leave it there.
for 24 hours, yeah. See if it gets red, itchy, anything like that. If it does, wash it off right away. And don't use that ingredient on your hair. No reaction after 24 hours, you're good to go.
Okay, good to know. Safety first, as always, especially with this kind of stuff. Anything else to keep in mind when using garlic or onion for hair?
One thing is that both garlic and onion juice can stain lighter hair, especially if you leave it on a long time. So if you've got blonde hair or anything like that, maybe start with a shorter application time, see how it goes.
Oh, good tip. Yeah, we don't want to accidentally dye your hair orange.
Yeah, right. And even if you don't have light hair, don't leave it on for too long. It can irritate your scalp.
So stick to the recipes, basically.
Exactly. Moderation.
Yeah.
It's better to be consistent and do it regularly, even if it's just once a week, than to overdo it and end up with a sore scalp.
Makes sense. Gotta nourish your hair, not punish it.
Exactly. It's a journey, not a race. Take your time, be patient, and enjoy the process of figuring out what works best for your hair.
I love that. So we've explored the benefits, we learned how to make that amazing oil, and we covered some safety stuff. What else do we need to talk about in our deep dive into onion juice and garlic for hair growth? So we've talked a lot about sulfur and how important it is for strong, healthy hair, but knowing that, I wonder, are there other natural ingredients out there that could also help our hair in a similar way?
That's a great question.
Hmm.
And yet, definitely worth thinking about. There are so many plants and herbs that contain sulfur compounds.
Like what? Any specific ones come to mind?
Well, even biotin, which people always talk about for hair growth, it actually has sulfur in it. It's a B vitamin, but still. So yeah, there's probably a ton of stuff out there that we haven't even discovered yet that could be great for our hair.
That's exciting. It's like a whole new world of natural hair care to explore.
Totally. And the more we understand the science behind these things, the better choices we can make for our hair.
Absolutely. So, as we wrap up this deep dive, what are the key takeaways you want to leave our listeners with about using onion juice and garlic for hair?
I think the biggest takeaway is that both onion and garlic have real potential. We're not just talking about old wives' tales. There's research to back it up. And they're full of sulfur, which we know is so important for healthy hair.
And it's not just about sulfur. They do so much more, like we talked about, improving blood flow to the scalp, getting rid of dandruff, keeping your scalp healthy, even protecting your hair from the sun. It's really amazing.
It is. But we have to remember the downsides too. Like the smell can be a bit much, but you can minimize that, like we talked about, by diluting the juice or mixing it into an oil.
And don't forget about patch testing, especially if your scalp is sensitive.
Right. Always better to be safe than sorry.
This deep dive has been incredible. I learned so much, and I'm sure our listeners did too.
Me too. It's been fun. And remember, taking care of your hair is a journey, not a race. It takes time and patience. But you got this. With the right knowledge, you can reach your hair goals.
So well said. And hey, maybe our listeners will be inspired to try out those other sulfur-rich ingredients and find the next big hair care secret.
You never know. The power of nature is pretty awesome.
It really is. All right, everyone, that's our deep dive into onion juice and garlic for hair growth. We hope you found it interesting and helpful.
And we hope you feel ready to try these out yourself. Just remember, patch test first, be patient, and enjoy the journey to healthier, happier hair.
That's it for today, folks. We'll see you next time for another deep dive.